And that's not just for employees, that's for entrepreneurs too. People are looking for speed of execution. And they don't want to call somebody and have them say, I have to get permission. And this is where people are struggling. The empowerment issue. Empowerment says that I know what to do, I know when to do it, and I'm going to do it when I feel that it needs to be done. We've trained people to operate in these nice, secure places. We have people that we have given the responsibility to do a job. We have held them accountable through performance appraisals. But how many times have people been ready to take consequential action only to find that they didn't have the proper level of authority? And then they want to put the customer on hold and get permission. Finally, the customer gets upset, go over their head, and come back down and get what they would have gotten anyway had they had the authority, because most of the time you know what to do. Well, that same customer is not going over your head anymore. They're going out of the door. And I can tell you something else. For those companies that are not facilitating empowerment within their organizations, they're losing their good people. That's where your best entrepreneurs come from. If you look into the history of every successful entrepreneur, you will find that they were trying to do something within the organization and they were trying to keep the ceiling on them. People like Home Depot, they were fired from Kansas City because they wanted to think outside the box and they wouldn't let them do it, so they fired them. And now they put them out of business. So when we start to look at it, the empowerment issue is not only a sensible issue, it's a necessity, because you have to let people go. One of the reasons I named my company Golden Eagle Business Services is one day I walked around and I said, you know, trying to put everything I know in one place is like trying to breed an eagle in a chicken coop. And people are not going to be held back anymore. And as an entrepreneur, as an individual, as an employee, we all must take away the shackles of the status quo. You don't have to do anything but die. And we have lived in a world of conformity for too long. We have brains and we simply must use those brains. The true meaning of empowerment is having the competence and the confidence to do what you need to do without fear of repercussion. That's all it is. And know that you are big and bad enough to stand behind what you do. Because you see, that fourth wind of change is called customer choice. And they have a choice and they're making it. Because you see, everybody's going through this right now. Nobody is exempt. Everybody is looking for something else. You have your traditional companies that are under siege. You have your new companies that are looking at, that are being looked at with suspicion. But the truth of the matter is, people are confused. And they're looking to you to shed light on some of the decisions that must be made. But in the end, the customer is going to be the boss because they have the cash. And too many employees and too many entrepreneurs don't connect this with the customer. There was one customer that told a friend of mine in a strip mall, said her business would work well if it wasn't for those darn customers. If you don't have a customer, you don't have the cash. And if you don't have the cash, you don't have the cash flow. And so when it comes down to what's going on, we must understand that people are looking and they are listening and they are doing whatever it takes to make their life work, and we must do whatever it takes to show them that we can play a role in that. Now, what that means is that a lot of people are very uncomfortable right now. They're very stressed out, and I'm telling you, if you're stressed out, it's only because you think it's temporary. Stress is only stress because you think it's going to go away. And it's not going to go away. You're just going to go away unless you don't speed up. The truth of the matter is, this is the new intensity of the workplace. There's going to be more work in less time. There's going to be ambiguity. You're going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the way it is. I have spent the last 13 years walking in and out of organizations, big organizations, small organizations, government, education, the highest level and the lowest level. I can tell you none of them are different. It's down to the individual. And you need to understand this, that you are an independent contractor. It doesn't matter if you are employed or not, you are an independent contractor, and you need to go to work every day understanding that. I had one woman in the company ask me, how could she become permanent? And she worked for a large organization. And I said, what do you mean? She says, well, I'm temporary. So I said, well, how long have you been temporary? She said, 3.5 years. I said, well, what is it you don't like about being temporary? She says, well, I get raises and I get promotions, but I want security. I said, you're the most secure person here. She says, why? I said, because at least you know you're temporary. I mean, please. People who, if you walk around and you're putting all of your eggs in a job, you are really asking for trouble. Because the time for the jobs are over. You need to quit looking for jobs and start looking for work. The name of the game is get paid. Get paid. And we have brains, and in fact, many of the people who are being laid off have found that it's the best thing that ever happened to them, because they would have held on to those jobs until they died there, and some of them are dying there. And you just are not going to find out how good you are until you let it go. And that's a major paradox right now, because we're in a position now where we have to take hold and let go at the same time. We are truly the bridge between the past and the future. We are it. We are standing in the crossroads of change. And we need to understand that if we finish it out, employed for somebody else, that's fine. But if we have to go and hang our own shingle, that's fine too. Any way the wind blows is just chilly with me, is what you need to be saying. Because you have the most important thing in the world, and that's the gift of life. That's the gift of life. And I love listening to Christopher Reeves when he says the most important thing he discovered since his accident is that the most important thing that happens in the head and the heart. It's not about the body you're in. And mostly what he says is the events in our lives are insignificant. How we respond to them is what defines us as individuals. So no matter what happened, you can handle it. You can handle it, because you see, that fifth wind of change is personal choice, and you're going to have to decide. What are you going to do? Do you want to learn how to play in the new game by the new rules? Because if you don't, they're going to get new players. And some people are really upset. I mean, they've worked all of their lives. They're 5 years from retirement. They're about to cross the goal line, and they moved the goal line. They've just gotten up enough skill to jump the bar, and they raised the bar. And when you ask them how high and how deep, they say it's a race without a finish line. And that is the way it is. And you have to decide what you're going to do. And the truth of the matter is, unless you're going to die or you're already rich, you're not going to escape, because even if you go out on your own, it doesn't go away. Only the players change. Only the players change, because it's gotten down to personal accountability. And so you're asking, what do we need to do, Ivory? Well, believe it or not, it's so soft and it's so subtle and it's so simple, you're not going to believe it. But the first thing we have to do is just learn how to think again. We just have to learn how to think again, to start asking why and why not, and to start challenging our assumptions. We have got to stop believing that things are going to be the way they are because that's the way they've been. We have got to be able to ask questions. We've got to be ready to respond from our hearts. The second thing we need to do is understand that education is never going to go away. That is one of the things that's great about TPN, because it's going to bring you to some of the most positive minds in the country.